few months ago, I set up a new consignment display at a shop in Tucson, Arizona. And in this video, I thought it might be fun to show you a little bit of the process. If we haven't met yet, my name is Melissa. I run a brand design studio by day and a handmade product business by night. Over the years, I have set up more than a dozen different consignment shop displays, and so I feel like I've gotten kind of good at it. I thought in this video I might share a little bit of the process. Now, for this specific shop, I didn't have this channel yet, and so I didn't record the entire process. So I thought I would back things up and share a little bit of my process for the planning and the setup of this display. And then at the end of the video, I'll show you a little highlight reel of how it all came together. Okay, when I first find out that I'm gonna be able to move into a new consignment shop, the first thing I wanna do is figure out what space I have available. What space will be my space? Some shops allow you to pick from a variety of options, so you get a little bit of control in that, but sometimes you're just assigned a space. So the first phase is the planning phase. So once you figure out that you're gonna be able to be in a new consignment shop, you wanna figure out exactly what that space looks like. Figure out if it's a table space, a shelf space, a wall space. If it is a wall space, is it a slat wall? Is it a pegboard? Can you hang your own shelves? How high is it or how low is it? Where it's situated in the store, that type of thing. And then once you've got that figured out, then you'll want to figure out the exact measurements of that space. How deep is the shelf? How wide is the shelf? How tall, if it's a shelving unit, how tall between units? You also might want to consider what materials it's made out of. Are they light? Are they dark? If it's like a shelving unit, are there metal pieces? Because sometimes you can use magnets to your advantage. So definitely evaluate the materials and the exact size and dimensions of the shelf. Not shelf, but space. Once you kind of have a good understanding of the space, you'll want to evaluate kind of what are the positives and the negatives. This is important because you want to figure out how to downplay the negatives and upplay the positives so that you can just maximize the space for your sales. Once you have a good understanding of the space and its pros or cons, you're going to want to evaluate how your products are best displayed. What's the optimal way to show off your products? For example, I have these key rings and I've got them in a bunch of different colors. I love to show those key rings displayed upright on a wall with all the colors lined up. Now, I can even do that on a shelf space if I build the right display that holds them up. So that's a good use case or example of be thinking about what's the best way to display your products. Once you have an idea of the best way you can display your products, you can kind of reverse engineer if it's possible to display them like that in the space you have available. Over the years, I have learned the best ways that my products are displayed. So if you are new to this, give yourself a little bit of grace. It might take a little bit of time to learn how your products sell best. Now, there are a lot of opinions out there about how to best display products. I have a very specific opinion though it is not backed by research, only backed by my own experience, and that is I like to have as much product out as possible. I firmly believe that shoppers do not engage as well with sparse shopping settings unless maybe your product is ridiculously high end. But if you're just kind of a normally priced handmade product, I think you should maximize and get as much product out as possible. I always say, if it isn't out, it can't sell. So you want to be able to get out as much product as possible. That way you're also protected against selling through things too quickly and having gaps and holes in your display. When you have a nice full display, I feel like it turns a buyer's shopping behavior into should I buy something to what should I buy, which is exactly what we want our displays to do, right? Now the caveat is if you are going to have a lot of product out, you need to display it in a neat and tidy manner. If it's messy, people won't be able to tell one thing from another. They won't be able to skim it or scan it easily. So that is the one caveat. You don't want to put so much out that it just becomes sloppy looking. I like to think of this like a Venn diagram. When you've properly evaluated your space, when you've properly evaluated the best way your products are displayed and sold, and when you're accurately considering the measurements, consideration of all the three of those things equates to a maximized display, a display optimized for maximum sales. but you're not done there. This is just kind of the brainstorming and information gathering phase. So now you're going to want to move forward to the actual designing phase. At least this is the way that I work. In the designing phase, I like to do a 100% scale mock-up of the display. I know that sounds extra, but I have found when I wing it, it never really works out. I always end up with wasted space or not being able to fit some product out. What I do is I do a 2-scale mock-up in Adobe Illustrator. Now, I'm a designer by day, so I'm really comfortable in this software. I know for a lot of you, that's probably not a realistic way to do things. So you might be able to find a different piece of software to do a mock-up in, or what I have done before also is I literally just arrange a 2-scale mock-up on my countertop. So even if I have 3 shelves, I will tape off the exact size of the shelf on my countertop and then start arranging my displays to know for a fact that they fit nicely with enough space between everything within the space I'm allotted. Always plan for a little margin of error. Despite how tightly I plan my displays, it never fails that when I go to set up, something takes a tiny bit more space than I thought. There's always something unexpected that happens, so leave just a little bit of wiggle room on things so that you kind of have the ability to flex a little bit for the unexpected. For me, this phase involves a lot of stopping and starting because it's hard to design to scale until I know display fixture I'm trying to fit in that space. I'll map everything out. I've got my ideas for displays. Then I go shop for displays, get exact measurements, come back, see how they fit. It's kind of like trying to put together a puzzle, but you don't actually know what the end result looks like. There's a lot of back and forth. It takes a little bit of time, but the more times you do it, the faster it all goes. Once you have your plan in place, then you want to actually start preparing. First of all, order your displays. That is the first thing you should do. Once you've got them decided on, get them ordered because, some might come in a couple days, some might take a week. Get those babies ordered. Once they arrive, assemble what you can. There's going to be some things that maybe make sense to assemble on site, but other things that involve tools and things like that are probably better assembled at home. Then you're going to want to start pulling your product. Now, I like to pull enough product to fill the display, and then I usually like to pull extra and put that in overstock at the shop. But you'll have to ask the specific shop that you're moving into. Some of them don't have space for overstock. By pulling overstock, that just gives you a little bit of runway before you've got to go back and restock the display. Now, as you're pulling your product, make sure to keep a spreadsheet of all the products that you're pulling. This is because they're likely going to need this spreadsheet. Either you'll have to enter it into their point of sale or you'll have to provide that spreadsheet for them. So you'll need the name of the product, you'll need the quantity that you're bringing, the price that it needs to be priced at. I find it helpful to name the product with the type of product it is first, and then the specific name of the design second. That way, in the point of sale, all of your like products will group together rather than kind of flip-flopping all over the place. An example of this, if I'm bringing art prints, I'm going to name them art print : prickly pop, art print : electric desert. That way, when I want to go pull a report, see what the inventory is, all my art prints are grouped together, all my stickers grouped together, all my greeting cards grouped together. I learned that one the hard way, so use my knowledge and make your life easier by doing that. So now that I've shared my process, let's roll the highlight reel. So what do you guys think? Do you think it turned out good? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've got questions, if you've got suggestions, if you have other things you want to learn about setting up a shop or anything involving handmade business or design, please post them as comments below. I would absolutely love the ideas for future videos. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks. See you guys in the next one.